91.1 WDDE, Delaware's NPR news station. I'm Karl Malgiero. I'm sitting here in the studio with the principals of Newark, Delaware-based band Mean Lady, Katie Dill.
Hello.
Vocals and instruments, and Sam Nobles.
Hey, folks.
Instruments and vocals. Thanks, you guys, for coming in and having a little chat with us.
Thank you for having us.
No problem. First off, congratulations being signed to Fat Possum.
Thank you.
That's a nice little thing. They're releasing your new record, Love Now, on July 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
And we'll talk about that a little bit later, and talk about all kinds of good things. But I really want to get into the roots of Mean Lady and where you guys came from, what steered you to in this direction and got you to this point. Tell us a little bit about your history together. You're both from Newark, born and raised?
Mm-hmm. Well, Sam was Wilmington, right?
You're a Wilmington kid?
So right up the road.
When did you guys each first realize your musical potential and your ability to pick up an instrument and make something nice come out of it?
What do you think, Sam?
It's hard to say when it really called out. It kind of just happened in pieces. Started with piano lessons in 4th grade and trumpet in school band. But yeah, in middle school I started playing the bass guitar and playing with like rock bands and writing our own stuff. And that's probably when it started to, once you start playing shows and seeing people respond to it is when you start to realize how much you like it.
What about you? When did you first start singing? Yeah.
Yeah, I've always been singing as a little kid, like playing by yourself in the backyard and just like singing and like being really weird, like stuff you're not supposed to do in the front yard, and then, I took piano when I was little and then like cello and in middle school and like guitar in high school eventually. And I feel like actually I think once I started playing in front of people, like in high school, like the talent show and stuff, and I was like, all right, this is kind of what I want to do, maybe,
Because that's what you said. That was the first time I've seen you say that. The first time you ever performed in front of anybody was at a talent show at St. Mark's.
Yeah,
High
when
School.
I was 15, my sophomore year, maybe 16, and it was like just nice, just a really nice reception. I was like, oh, thanks.
I bet you were like probably pretty scared to go up there. You're like, oh, I wonder if they're gonna like this, and then it comes.
Yeah, they liked it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, they liked it.
Yeah.
Cool.
You put a lot out when you perform your own stuff. So when people like it, it's like, oh, it's really awesome. It's exciting.
How'd you two meet each other?
We met in high school. We met at a friend's house, a mutual friend's house. My friend was having just a couple people over, and then we started like somewhere a guitar got brought out, and we were like trading music a little bit and playing and stuff, and had a really good time. And then I think we might have hung out a couple times after that, like in that year, just like to jam.
Yeah, we did.
And then we didn't really see each other too much again until college, your freshman year of college, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was when we started it. We were in a band together called Diego Paulo. And and then after that we stayed in that band for like 2 years probably. But in between, at some point we started writing Mean Lady songs, and then we branched off and did that, and then eventually that became like a band, and then we weren't doing Diego Paulo anymore, so it's more like that.
You your voice, you've gotten some pretty good comparisons in your voice. I've heard Lauryn Hill, I've heard Amy Winehouse, even Ella Fitzgerald to an extent, with like the scatting and the things that you just throw out there and the way you improvise. You also play like a wide variety of instruments. I've seen you pick up a banjo, ukulele, the omnichord. And your musical tastes are eclectic. Like you've covered Kid Cudi, Bob Dylan, Doc Watson. I've seen numerous different things that you guys have done. And it's all really eclectic. What there's no limits or constraints on what you guys will put on yourselves. Is this how you see it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think there's any type of music we would shy away from.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think we started Mean Lady as like we wanted to be hip hop sounding. And but then again, like we don't have a strictly hip hop background. I just said hick hop. I almost said hick hop, but that would be a good word for. I would call myself hick hop because I have more of like a bluegrass background initially, maybe, and like all the stuff you listen to when your parents play music and you're a little kid, which would be like for me it was like classical and bluegrass and like Irish folk music, right? And then like Bob Dylan, like that kind of stuff, and then jazz, like Ella Fitzgerald and stuff. So it's weird. And then you grow up and you're like, oh yeah, like TLC, you know, like this is great, like hip hop or whatever. And then Britney Spears, and it's like, well, okay, I can't really cut any of it out at this point, and it's fun to sort of try our hand at all of it and mix them together too.
Absolutely. And I think it just happens. It seeps in, you know, like you said, as a kid, if you're getting surrounded by that music, then when you try and make your music now, it's like everything that's been put into your ears kind of marinates and then comes out. And
well, it's a lifetime of experience, and that's pretty much your artistic ability, is to throw all that out and say, this is what results from this. It's kind of like the scene too, though. I mean, Newark itself is this loose sort of network that kind of resembles a scene but isn't really. And I mean, there's scenesters, of course, but I wouldn't say that, like, you know, it's hardcore. You know, it's not.
Right, it doesn't
it's punk.
have one specific
right.
scene.
I mean, you can go to Mojo and see the hip hop night one night, and the next night there's a black metal band playing. So it's really like kind of that way. And even back in the 90s, you could go see like Schroeder playing with Boy Sets Fire, or like Caterpillar playing with Walleye. It's like these different styles that just all seem to work together. It's kind of more of like, the way I see it is like an aesthetic on creativity and art and mutual admiration and respect, and like this sort of rejection of the establishment that kind of like really does exist. I mean, like, and it captures itself in Newark. And I really think it's how do you feel about that area as being like a way to foster creativity and like, and you know, to be received really well by your fans?
I don't know. What do you think?
I say it's pretty well said. It's, you know, it is a really diverse scene, and all being part of it, all the bands that are part of it, you feel connected to them. You can play a show with 4 other bands who all have a totally different sound, but you do feel totally connected, all part of the same scene in a sense that's just this hodgepodge of Newark.
Yeah, it's really funny.
It's an interesting place. Like Delaware in general is like an interesting place and an interesting spot in the country. You know, like sometimes you're in like a place in Delaware and you feel real Southern. You're like, okay, this is the South. Like, here's a farm, here's hay, here's cows. Like, here's like folks over here who listen to country music, right, or whatever. And then you're in a different place and you're like, okay, this is a city. Like, this is New York trickling down, or Philadelphia. And then, you know, I don't know, being especially like on the East Coast, I think so much culture comes from like New York and Philly, and Delaware is a weird place where it's in between the two worlds, and it's like, you know, you can kind of get everything there.
And that, yeah, it's like that sort of like 14-mile stretch of I-95 just brings like the North and the South together. We border on the Mason-Dixon line. It's like really...
Yeah,
we
it's
do.
a special place.
How'd you come up with the name Mean Lady? Like, you sing a lot of songs about love and things like that. Where does the name Mean Lady come from?
Well, sometimes I don't want to tell you guys, because then it's like everyone's going to say, oh, it's about a dog. But there was a dog named Lady who lived at our drummer's house, and we were in Diego Paulo, and she was really cool, but I think she would like bark a lot when people got to the house. Like, she had parts of her that were a little more like mean maybe, but not really. And we were like, oh, you're a mean lady. And then we just started singing the jingle, like, mean lady, why do you have to be such a... And like Sam would do a harmony, and then eventually Sam would like made a cool... It was basically almost identical to what you hear on that song, the Why Do You Have to Be Such a song, like that beat. And then we started singing that over it, and it worked, and we were like, oh, weird. And then we had that song, and we were like, all right, well, what should we call the band? Like, I kind of like Mean Lady. It's kind of cool. Like, something about it. It just worked. Like, it was catchy. It's like it's not like C3, 4, 6, 7. Like, you know, come see our band. Like, E.G., C.G., B.G., G.G. It's like, no, Mean Lady is memorable. It's easy to say. And it also reminded me of Lady Gaga a little, who I was really into at that point. I still am. And she's like, I don't know, like when you think about, because essentially what we're making is pop music, right? So like and it has that female vocal to it. So it kind of like is like saying like me and lady, but then it's also like, wait, but there's two people. So we made it like me and lady, like me and apostrophe lady. So that Sam would be me and I'm the lady. So it's sort of like we made it work, but I think it just sounded like a cool name.
Yeah.
To be honest.
It rolls off the tongue.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's not one of those clap your hands, say yes, or God bless you, Boris Yeltsin, or these bands that just go, it's like the name doesn't stop. They have one record, and it's like your name is longer than your music. You've been playing and making music together for years. Diego, Paulo, you've done, you're in God knows how many bands. Are you able to point to something that you two share that, like, you know, expresses your dynamic and why you work together well and why you enjoy that? And anything that like benefits your writing, you know, that kind of thing.
I think that we just have a special connection. Like it's kind of like, I think, and we started noticing that when we were in Diego Paulo probably, is like just a special like brain, like we each have like a brain wave that like connects to the other one's brain wave or something. Yeah. So we sort of just fill in pieces of what the other one's doing, and like a lot of some of our songs that we write too happen that way. It'll be like, well, Sam will have this piano like piece, and then like we'll build from there, and like I'll add some vocal stuff, and it'll mix together. And then I also just noticed that I haven't just noticed. I do notice that in general, like when we play together, we have like a good sense for like when the song is over, it's like or like you know when to like build. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. And just what we talked about with liking all kinds of music, our music tastes are so similar. I remember after like some Diego Paulo rehearsals, getting together and just maybe showing Katie a couple chords that I liked, or you doing the same. And there's this kind of understanding of like, oh, I feel you. I know what, like I feel the feeling that you're conveying without having to say that. And it's really nice to find a musician like that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome, but it's like it's that beautiful thing. It's like you two don't even really have probably rarely put it in words how it is. You feel it, and you don't even think about it.
We do wink about it though. We're like,
there's so much is said in a wink.
It's true. Dying art.
You've kind of hinted to it a little bit, you know, showing her a chord or two that you liked and saying, you know, let's do this, or maybe she has a melody that she's come. But take us through the process of writing a song from concept to, you know, life to having it all together and ready to press the record button.
I think it happens a few different ways. Mm-hmm. Like specifically, like for our album, there's like nine songs on it. So like probably 3 of them are one way, 3 of them are another way, and 3 are a third way. You know, like. There's one song on there that I wrote, so it's just like, okay, here's a song I wrote, let's play it. And then, but that's not the norm. I think usually it's more like Ponionio is the one I think of when it's like, he's like, gring, 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 and then I'll be like, oh, you know, so there's that. Sometimes also Sam will just make a beat and then I'll just lay vocals over it and that'll be it.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes Katie shows up with a song and then we'll find a way to make it hip-hop. Maybe a folk song and we try and make it hip-hop. Yes. Yeah. Sometimes it's over a long period of time. You send me something, I'll brainstorm. I send you something, you brainstorm. Vocals over top. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's true. It happens a lot of different ways. I don't know if we have one. Like, let's get down and do this. I way to do it.
I remember when we wrote Cross My Heart, which we don't play that often, or maybe Yar, when we wrote Yar. That was like, I don't think that's on the album. It's definitely not, I'm positive. But that's another, I feel like that's a really organic example of like, okay, well, here's one chord that we all are playing. Let's start something. And then Sam will be like, well, what if we change to this? So it's just fun to have both our brains going for the same goal. I don't know. It's really fun.